So let's go ahead and maybe I'll just put it above, make it a little bit easier. Yeah, do something like that. But legends, we are here. Today's live stream is going to be all about Excelsius's new launch, V4, all the new tools, everything we got going on here. And so, yeah, really excited to get into it all. We are going to be getting started here in just a sec. Making sure that the dogs are all good to go. For those that don't know, they are the driving force behind me and everything I do. Nonetheless, though, legends, let's jump into it. We got a lot to review, talking about V4, everything that's going on. So, as you legends can see, Excelsius has gotten a whole new upgrade. Still the beautiful, sleek design that we all love, and that's been a really big aspect in context to the design behind Excelsius, the overall functionality and utility on it. The goal has always been and will always continue to be to provide you the cleanest and yet simplistic and most efficient type of analysis, but yet wildly powerful at the same time. And so we will never compromise that as we come out with new updates. We're never going to clutter the charts. We're only going to enhance them. And so even though we have nearly updated every single tool in context to V4, you guys can still see that Excelsius is still super clean in context to just the entirety of the scope and everything that we got going on. I do want to let everybody know that V4 Toolkit is officially updated for V4 Blueprint. That will be updated later on today, only because there is one little bug fix that has to be taken care of, but I will still show you, legends, the entire scope behind V4 Blueprint as well, but in context to that update, that will be coming later on today. And we are going to be running some specials, legends. Thank you all for the continued support. Without you, legends, we are not here. So for those that do want to take advantage of the specials we're running for V4, you definitely can. We'll talk about those later. Let's get into the goods and everything that we got going on. And of course, legends, if you have any questions in context to tools created, design, purpose, utility, functionality, of course, fire away, ask away. That's what I'm here for. Let's jump into the configuration screen just because this is the default layout that you legends see. And let's just talk about all of the new tools to begin with. So to start out, you still have very much the same overall UI experience in context to the V3 toolkit, except obviously we do have some new iterations involved here, and as a whole we just have a lot new things. So trading style and market pace has always been the same. For those that do not know, this just simply controls how fast or slow Excelsius will view the market in context to direction, changes, just overall the pace behind it. This has not changed. This is standard across. This is just based on trading styles and things of that nature. Now underneath, let's begin. Zones as a whole has gotten an upgrade, which is really great. Before, rejection zones and supply and demand zones were fixed to both sides. Now you have the ability to toggle either both the top or the bottom for both supply and demand zones, which allow for you now to have even more control in context to directional change. So for the moment, just to show you, legends, how initially the zones were, you obviously can see you have your supply and demand zones, both top and bottom. And what you can do now, and I'll go ahead and just change the chart here, is you can simply go ahead and control if you wanted only, let's say, an upper rejection zone, and let's say you just wanted a lower or a demand zone as well, or a supply zone. Either way, you can dictate if you want the upper, the lower, or both. And you can see here that we just simply went ahead and just put the bearish rejection zones, which obviously just put the top one. We put the demand zones, which just put the bottom line. And you can see just in that way, again, creating some new functionality with regards to that. So really good, really cool, in context to just having that ease and that overall efficiency. So that's really cool in context to zones. So you do have that flexibility now, which is great. In context to the key levels, no updates on the key levels on V4. There are updates on key levels in Toolkit. I mean, there are updates when it comes to Blueprint. You do have new supercharged entries, which we'll talk about in just a sec, which take the most significant type of market structure levels, and you can we'll go into it, but you can simply just decide which ones you want to take. Super cool. But in Context Toolkit, no updates on the key levels at this current time. All new trend lines are now in store. Sent a little sneak peek on this. This was super cool. We could do a little demo on just how they work, their overall functionality behind them. Trend lines are really cool, something we are really proud to bring to the table here. Trend lines, very simply, are another form of market structure. And I will go ahead and remove the supply and demand zones and the key levels as well, so we can just take a look at these trends. Trend lines are dynamic based on the market pace that you set. So for example, to start right now, the market pace is set on balance, so obviously that's just creating trend lines based on that. If I change this to lightning, you would obviously see a different type of market pace and just overall trends based on that given market pace as well. So to start, trend lines are completely dynamic based on market pace. You can obviously see that just took a little bit more of a current one. Now, for those legends that might say, hey, I do want that outer one as well, you can control how many trend lines you do have here to the left, whether you want a tremendous amount or you want just a really small amount. You can completely dictate how many trend lines you'd like to see, and again, through the market pace, you can create just again how many trend lines you want to see on the grand scale. What's super cool about trend lines as well is that it also shows the dynamic breakouts of when trends do in fact break out as well. So that's super unique too. So for those legends that just do want to have a little bit more of an understanding and context to when those trends happen to break out, you certainly can as well. Pretty unique across the board, just fun to watch them overall dynamically adjust and develop over time. One cool thing about the trend lines as well is that the trend lines do have a gradient dynamic fill associated towards them. So what that means very simply is as the trend gets stronger, the trend line's color will only enhance and get darker. You can control that gradient feel as well through the trend strength color, which is a super unique feature. But overall, trend lines are super cool. Also, I did want to show you legends as well. If you wanted to go ahead and I'll just do it in real time, but if you also want to go ahead and source trend lines from a multi-time frame scale, you can completely do that additionally. So again, if you're on the 4-hour time frame and you wanted to go ahead and only source, for example, trend lines from, let's say, the daily time frame, you would just go ahead and change this to the daily time frame, and that will go ahead and source trend lines from the daily time frame rather than the given time frame that you're on right now. So again, just super unique across the board. If we do have any longer term trend lines, obviously if there's none, there's none. This was probably the last long-term daily uptrend that happened before it broke down. But nonetheless, just again, another unique feature that you can go ahead and do. And just like the supply and demand zones and the others as well, you can also control if you wanted both, if you just want the top, if you just wanted the bottom. And yeah, like I said, you can just control how many of them, how many you want to see. Really just unique across the board, no matter, again, if you go to BTC USD or you're on a pair like dollar yen, every tool just completely dynamically adjusts to the pair that you're working on, the time frame you're working on, just goes back into the automation of the analysis associated. Yeah, just really proud of this tool as a whole. Shout out to those that are going to be using the trend lines. Trend lines are super cool. So yeah, trend lines are new as well. We'll slap on back to the key levels, have a little bit more going on there. But yeah, trend lines are good to go as well. And then again, you can control the color too, which is really nice. And then now we do have all new fractal analysis, which we'll talk about just because we're moving into the trend identifier, and we do have fractal states in here too. Fractal analysis is really, really exciting, and I will change the color scheme so everybody can see what I'm talking about here. That is the dashboard to the top right here, and you also have something which is known as fractal pressure inside of the configuration screen as well. So fractal analysis as a whole takes into account a multi-time frame argument and condenses it into one unit of measure. So fractal analysis tells you not only if the market is bullish or bearish, but how bullish or bearish as well. It takes into account every single time frame and will conclude an argument to you. You can see those arguments in the top right there, from strong bearish to moderately bearish to weak bearish to to strong bullish, and the other side as well. I'll do a replay mode so you legends can just take a look of it as a whole. It's really cool because again, it just stresses what the overall argument is in context to that given structure. Now there is one thing I do want to talk about though in context to fractal analysis, something that will be updated in the resource center as well, which is TradingView obviously limits how much data you can request based on the time frame you're on. Fractal analysis takes into account 1,024 different possible states of arguments. With that, how much data you will be able to get and be able to conclude is all based on the time frame you're on. Be mindful though, just because you're on a 4-hour time frame and that might historically go back to maybe like 2006, it does not mean you're going to source minute data from 2006. So it's very important that you understand that when you're using the fractal dashboard, depending on the time frame you're on, that will just fundamentally dictate how much data is being used in context to either lower time frame data or higher time frame data. And that will also provide a little bit more of just a general outlook in context to the environment and view you're looking in, right? So obviously, if you're using the fractal dashboard on a higher time frame, it's more time than not going to be a little bit more weighted toward that higher time frame bias, just because again it's taking into account a lot more of higher time frame structure than it will be on the smaller time frame structure, vice versa. Even if you're on the minute time frame structure though, it still very much could be weighted to a higher time frame structure if those arguments are there. It's just taking into account how much candle data is involved based on how much analysis is being done. Fractal analysis though is super cool. We'll do a little bit of a replay here so you legends can just see some of the different arguments involved. But basically, like I said, it is not just telling you if the market is bullish or bearish, but how bullish or bearish as well. Additionally, we do have a tool in here that is called fractal pressure. Fractal pressure is super cool too, because what it does, it basically just shows you based on what the argument is where the pressure should potentially move to. So if I go ahead and I actually just select this here, by the way, shout out to the trend line legends. Do you see how clean V4 is? No one's doing it like us. No one's got a system like this. Excelsius is on a whole new level. It's ridiculous. It's unreal. Gets me going every time. Every time. Anyway, selected the fractal pressure there. You can see this little line did come up. What it's telling you is just where the pressure should be sitting, where it's expected to move. Mind you, it's not trying to predict the movement, because that in and of itself is not possible with TradingView's just overall structure right now, but it is telling you where the movement is going. Or just potentially headed to, and where you can expect the pressure to just be favored towards based on the dashboard associated. We do have a little bit in there that tries to kind of predict the movement as a whole, but just the overall pressure of where it's expected. And so just to show you guys in the way that it works, pretty unique, and just want to show you guys more about the overall arguments that you can expect when it does come down to just what you can expect as a whole in context of fractal pressure. And so nonetheless though, just really cool how you'll see things change from weak bullish to moderate bullish to just overall where it's expecting it to move to and where the pressure is expected to change. Candle color will 100% change as well with the fractal dashboard, just based on what you can expect it to be doing. And so again, it completely dynamically adjusts. For the moment, we're just seeing strong bullish and nothing more in that regard. Yeah, moderate bullish, weak bullish, high risk. You'll even see mixed signals where it goes to a range-bound environment in that regard. And again, be mindful, right? That line there that you are seeing is just giving you indications of where you can expect pressure to be moving to. But again, it's not trying to predict so much of the movement as much as just where the pressure is as a whole. But yeah, really cool. You can just see again as a whole where the expected, and this is something I was trying to tell you as well. We do have something in there that does try to just give an overall expected trajectory of what potentially could be taking place. But yeah, just really, really cool in context to the types of arguments that potentially could be spanning out, and just as a whole what you could be expecting. Cool to watch again how the trend lines are developing too, and just as a whole, just the different arguments. But yeah, fractal analysis is a whole new beast in and of itself. You got a lot of different arguments in here. Just really proud of that as a whole too. So that's fractal analysis, and you can control the fractal pressure as well if you'd like to see that on or off, or if you'd like to just have your fractal dashboard. Heads up displays did get a whole new facelift as well. So let's take a look at what is going on here. So to start, market status, key levels, and of course you have the new fractal dashboard as well. But market status and key levels did get updates too. Why don't we just make these really large so we can just take a look at some of the new updates in context to the heads up displays. So one, they got new overall UI looks as well, right? So a lot cleaner, a lot just easier to view, which is really nice. Now, the new updates that we did get when it comes to the dashboards are the following. So liquidity is all new, velocity is all new, session is all new, key levels now also shows strength associated based on the levels and overall volatility that is potentially developing. So to start, liquidity has 9 different states of liquidity involved. We'll go do a little bit of a replay again so you legends can see it. Excelsius now provides real-time dynamic insights in context to the potential liquidity associated to the market. Really cool. Provides you 9 different potential types of arguments associated to the liquidity associated to it as well. So you will just see here, and we'll just focus more on the dashboards here, but you will just see as time goes on from moderate depth, and just trying to tell you what you could expect based on the market to a balanced environment, to normalize the conditions to standard market conditions. And again, this is really unique just as a whole because you are getting different liquidity states based on how market is developing, how market is moving. And as a whole, it'll just simply just give you indications of if it's an environment that you should be involved in or if it's an environment that you should not be involved in, right? And that in and of itself, though, again, is really unique as a whole. Again, will completely adapt based on the environment you're in, and more importantly, the state in which you're in. Higher time frame, of course, will have a little bit more of a slower environment versus the lower time frames in context to that. But liquidity did get a whole new update, which is really exciting. Then when it comes to the velocity, that is all new as well. So basically this does give indication now of just in general market pace as a whole, overall just how smooth the market is moving, and that is a super unique new variant that we had put in there as well. So just again giving another indication that does go hand in hand. So you do have liquidity now, which is kind of just telling you in context to how smooth conditions are, and velocity is giving you more indications of just pace in context to market as a whole. So that's really exciting too. And then you do have your session base as well, now telling you between New York, London, Asian, and the crossovers between Asian, London, and London, New York additionally too. So this is really unique as well. You do now have new session base involved too, just to kind of tell you. Now to the right here, and the reason why these show NA is just because you do have your essential levels, but if I did go to all levels, that is going to show everything available. But nonetheless, just sometimes when you're hitting all-time highs, there's no levels available. That's a trading view thing. There's just no levels available. But nonetheless, key levels now has gotten a whole new update as well. And basically it will tell you, it kind of made me laugh because you see fortress level here, but basically you have different types of key levels that are created, of course, and Excelsius tells you where that level is, how many pips you are away from that level, and also how strong or weak that level is based on its formation, right? So if I do just a little bit fast forward and we do see just a little bit of a different one, you'll see different things from fortress level to growing strong to holding steady. As a whole, again, are just formed right as these new levels just form as well. And so nonetheless, just really giving indications of strength associated to levels that are created. Just to give a little bit more confluence and context to the levels associated. But key levels have gotten also an update telling you the overall strength. That does have 5 different arguments as a whole. So one of the big themes as well here, Legends, that we've been talking about and kind of been hinting to is counter arguments has been a huge theme in context to V4 launch and just as a whole, everything that we've come out with. This is just fundamentally due to the fact that that's the next phase of Excelsius, right? We have perfectly isolated just the ability to identify what market structure is, how market structure works in the market, and that entire scope. And so now really it's just more around putting in the Legends hands just what really that is all telling you and what that is saying across the board. So when it comes to the meat and potatoes of it, you got a lot going on here, whether it is the trend lines, fractal states, liquidity states, and just more importantly all the new upgrades and everything that we've put in. Additionally as well, now we have also added 26 new alerts into the toolkit in here. So if you do go into the toolkit and you do take a look into the alert function here, you do have now a bunch of new alerts associated to the toolkit. So what I mean by that is the following. You do now have alerts in context to the fractal states. You do have alerts in context to trend line breakouts. You do have alerts now for supply and demand zones. You do have alerts for your candlesticks. Oh, we didn't even talk about candlesticks, Legends. My apologies. Yes, so you do have all new candlesticks involved here as well. Another feature of the V4 state. So now candlesticks, when selected, you do have, I believe, 9 different types of candlesticks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 different types of candlesticks across the board. And so when selected, that will highlight in black just that type of candlestick. I'll go ahead and just remove the trend identifier so we can just look at that type of candlestick. But yeah, basically you have your favorite candlesticks from engulfing, dojis, hammers, hanging mans, shooting stars, you name it, we got it. So for example, by selecting engulfing, that's going to go ahead and just black out all of the engulfing candlesticks additionally as well. And so nonetheless, you do have candlesticks in the toolkit too now. So for those that do like to trade candlesticks and you want to see engulfing candles, or if you want to just see dojis, right, you could see that as well. But yeah, candlesticks are super unique for those that do utilize them. Of course, you can do a lot with them, but just your standard overall type of candlesticks based on what it is that you're looking for. And again, it will just black out the ones that of course develop as dojis or based on what you select. But yeah, candlesticks did get added in there, and you do have alerts now when those candles form too, which is super unique. And then additionally, like I said, you have all the other alerts as well. So 26 new alerts now inside of the alert tab as well, which is really great. And that, Legends, is the updates for V4 in context to the toolkit. As a whole, just really a lot of things going on here, but again, we wanted to ensure that we still kept that just minimalist yet powerful UI experience. And so Yeah, legends. Nonetheless, that is V4, the toolkit side. And now when it comes to Blueprint, we have layered everything that you see in the toolkit over into Blueprint with some new things as well, because with Blueprint, the whole point is you want to be able to control every facet of what it is that you're trying to create, and that's where Blueprint does come into play. Let's talk about Blueprint here and go into it. This is just some randomized strategy that doesn't have any anything associated to it, I'm going to assume. But nonetheless, here Blueprint has gotten a whole new UI associated in context to the design of it to start, and then we'll go into some of the new features. So Blueprint as a whole has gotten a whole new design and just overall UI associated. Before it wasn't as vibrant and as fun, and now it in fact is. And so Blueprint has gotten a whole new upgrade as well in context to that design. And then let's go into just some of the new upgrades when it does come down to Blueprint. So to start, and I believe, by the way, this was, I believe I was working on a 15-minute approach. But anyway, we'll stay on the 4-hour. It doesn't matter. But yeah, Blueprint to start. We did, in fact, now add all new entries involved in here. So now you do have your trendline entries in addition to the existing entries. So Blueprint did get a whole new line of entries now where you can take entries on breakouts of the trend lines, retests of the trend lines. So that's super unique as well. So you do have that flexibility, which is really great. Then underneath, we did add, oh, and then also you have the new supercharged entries as well. So supercharged entries are super cool because basically what it does is it takes all of the market points that are created, and you have the ability to simply decide how specific or how specialized of the market type of structure points you want to trade. So what I mean by that is the following. Let's say, for example, you had like 10 lower lows that were created. Not all the lower lows are the same. Some of them have different volume associated to them. Some of them have different volatility associated to them. Just in general, they have different metrics associated to them. So with this, with the supercharged entries, you can actually now go ahead and be able to decide how finite of a type of level you would want in that regard. So what it does is when you select supercharge, you can come down here and you can actually control how conservative or aggressive you would want your levels to be created. It takes the most significant levels that are populated and it puts them into a batch, and then you have the ability to control which ones you'd want. If you wanted 90% of that, if you wanted 10%. So let's say, for example, you had like 100 levels that formed. Out of those 100 levels, 30 of those levels ended up being really significant. Now you have the ability to control out of that 30% of the population of the 100 or the 30 left, you can control if you wanted only 10 of those levels, 5 of those levels to use, things like that. But nonetheless, you have all new supercharge entries in there, and it just basically gives you more finite type of entries to start. Big thing what we did with Blueprint here was we really focused more on filters associated because again, that's really the next phase. Aside from giving you legends different types of entry mechanics, there's really only so many ways you can enter into the market, which we provided nearly every type. Breakouts, pullbacks, rejections, doesn't matter, you have the ability. With Blueprint, you really need more filters now, right, to just really create more specified and specialized type of strategies. That's what we did. So to start, now you do have rejection zone filters in here as well, so you can control if you want to trade in or out of rejection zones. So let's just populate that real quick here to start. So let's say, for example, I threw both of these rejection zones on. And then I went down into Blueprint here, and let's say, for example, I went ahead and slapped on the rejection zones below. You have the ability to control where you would want your entries to take place, whether you want them in the rejection zones, out of the rejection zones. So let's say, for example, I was only looking for buys here, and let's say, for example, I only want to take trades once price entered and exited out of the first rejection zone. So I just simply go ahead and select the bullish initial rejection zone, obviously just looking for buys, and what you're going to see now is only trades taken when price had only entered into this first zone and then happened to enter out of it, right? And so nonetheless, though, you do have that filter now that you can add in which is really great because ultimately that does allow for you to just simply control again, how deep of entries you'd like, or how extended of the entries you'd like, which is super unique as a whole. While that loads up, I'll pull it back, but oh, we got it. So nonetheless though, and I'll hide the tool. Oh, I need the toolkit. I was going to hide this too. But you can just see here, you're only getting entries now when price happened to dip into that first rejection zone and happen to pull out. Again, you'll never see entries happen where you get the second one or third one. It's only going to take entries when it happens to dip into that first one and go out. But nonetheless, again, you can completely control now with the rejection zones as well when you want to see entries with Blueprint 2. So that's really cool. So that's one filter that we did add in. The next, so yeah, that's huge to begin with, but you do have a bunch of different just type of states that you could put the rejection zones in, and again, you can also control them on a multi-time frame span. So if you wanted like daily rejection zones or weekly, you can do that as well. But yeah, you got a lot of different options when it comes to the rejection zones. Candlesticks as well now, of course, you can slap into. So if you want to enter only on specific candlesticks, you can do that additionally, whether it's engulfings, dojis, hammers, things like that. Velocity now is in there, which is part of course, the toolkit. But now with velocity, you can completely control the exact measurements of velocity that you would want to see. So velocity is super cool because you can completely control the type of pace that is created, associated. This will obviously all be broken down in the resource center, but this is a new feature associated. This is very important because ultimately it just allows for you to weed out the environment, and you can just really start to focus on a little bit more of a smoother trajectory as a whole. But velocity is all new, which is really, really exciting. You can control the time frame in which you'd like to just see the velocity take place, as well as the number of pips across that you would like to see happen. What it also does as well is you have time period adjustments, and you can control the threshold. So just simply how snappy or unsnappy or dynamic or undynamic buyers and selling pressure is. And then you have different types of velocity types from buying and selling, and different temperatures as well. Whether you'd want to see the market just in a really strong state or potentially just heating up. And again, it's really just to give indications of pace, right? So imagine when market starts moving, it starts gradually building up in this way. And with this, you can actually control how that pace is going to come out. And so nonetheless, though, just really excited with velocity as a whole. That's a whole new feature that did come in. And again, you can also control if you wanted the velocity to have significance associated to it or not. And so, yeah, a lot going on with the velocity side. That is a whole new filter as well. Now, just like with the toolkit too, you do have fractal state, so you can completely control if you wanted your trades to be taking from fractal analysis additionally. So you do have all those new updates as well. When it does come to fractal analysis, you can now also layer on if you wanted your trades to be in a certain fractal state, which you can completely control. Supercharged, did talk about a little bit earlier. This does control, again, how many of those significant levels are going to be generated. Supercharged entries take the most significant points of market structure, and very simply, you can control if you want all of them or some of them, as well as what types of levels are created, whether you want really volatile levels or a lot more smoother levels across how many candles as well when those levels were created. And so, yeah, what it does, again, is it just simply condenses all of the market structure points and finds the most significant ones, and you can control that. So that is a big thing as well. And then we also did add new alerts inside of here as well, meaning you are getting new arguments, new states when it does come to Blueprint. When you do set your alerts, you will get new updates as a whole. And so everything that you do see in the toolkit is also added into Blueprint that you can control and you can drag and drop. You can also add liquidity states in there, but you have every control of toolkit in Blueprint as well. V4 Blueprint will be launched later on this evening. There is one update that we do have to make as a whole. But yes, Blueprint's big theme was in context to providing more filters for you legends to be able to add to your trading. You got rejection zones now, you got velocity, you got liquidity in there. And then additionally as well, you do have new entries involved from the trend line entries, from the supercharged entries. Yeah, so and then you got the candlesticks as well that are in there additionally too. New filters, new added features, all layered with the toolkit additionally. And so, yeah, legends, as a whole, that is the V4 launch. Big updates, but again, still maintaining that simplicity when it does come down to the overall UI and what we are trying to accomplish when it comes to Excelsius, which is again providing as much power as we can to you legends, while simultaneously being able to, of course, create a really clean view as a whole. We know that analysis paralysis is a difficult thing in trading. And so, yeah, legends, as always, if you have any questions as you use it, don't ever hesitate to reach out. Head to the resource center. That's going to be your best place to jump in on and get going with everything. And then aside from that, only more and more, legendary updates to come. Big updates for Toolkit was counter arguments and just providing you guys all that new of what the market is trying to tell you, and Blueprint was really providing more filters. And so, yeah, really excited because we got all new entries now and strategies coming out with Miracle. We got some new updates coming out of Miracle in the next couple days. I'm excited to share with you legends. But yeah, as a whole, V4 is live, ready for you legends to use. Go and plug it in, have some fun with it. Give me your updates, legends, and yeah, nonetheless, that is going to conclude today's webinar, just the updates on V4. Be on the lookout for the V4 blueprint, and then be on the lookout for the specials that we will be running in the Discord for V4 launch. And so, yeah, legends, nonetheless, I hope you all have an incredible rest of your weekends, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next live stream. We'll speak to you later.